And welcome to Boxing Day on the Chris Plante Show. It is the 26th of December. The Brits really celebrate Boxing Day. We don't. I know it's their deal. But a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm making fun of it. It's Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plante. Thank you for being here. I hope your Christmas and your first day of Hanukkah were excellent as you anticipated. We're following all the breaking news of the day. Reuters is claiming they have sources confirming that Russian air defenses shot down the Azerbaijani airliner yesterday, an Embraer. I think it was an Embraer 190 that was knocked out of control, basically, because the pilot did make a valiant effort to bring that plane in, circled and asked for an emergency landing. The Russians initially said, no, it was birds. It was birds. Trust us. It was a bird strike. No. We kept seeing images online showing damage to the fuselage of the plane that looks a lot like what would happen if someone was trying to shoot you out of the sky. And now that's what Reuters is claiming happened. And we will see if there's any response. Joe Biden is busy flying to St. Croix for a vacation because he needs yet another vacation. And, I don't think we can count on any kind of cogent foreign policy statement out of Kamala Harris about this either. Both the president and the vice president probably not really focused on dealing with this kind of thing. NATO is going to call for a full investigation, of course. This is a horrific act against people that were flying on an airliner. At least 38 dead, 29 survived, which is just amazing. And 2 of those were children. Just an astounding. And they say there was one report that I heard early in the coverage of this yesterday morning when this first started breaking, that the plane, when it landed, the main part of the fuselage broke away from the back half, like the tail portion. And that is where they believe, I believe they say the majority of the survivors came from there. It's a tragedy no matter what. But it could be even more awful if it's true that Russia shot this plane out of the air. And we'll follow it. We'll keep up on it. There are a couple more stories that we have to get to today. Some news looking ahead to the new year. There's a list out today that has the 10 best paying and least stressful jobs in the world. So I'll get to that sometime this hour. The 10 best paying and least stressful jobs in America. I think you're going to want to see the requirements for some of these jobs because they're pretty good. I know there's a lot of talk today about yesterday's NFL games. Now, Christmas Day, one of those things I always used to bristle that the NBA made a big deal out of Christmas Day. It was never a thing in our family growing up to watch sports on Christmas Day. That it was kind of a faith and family day. Family would get up. If you didn't go to midnight mass, you'd probably go to an early mass, and then we'd have a family together with the presents, and we'd have the Christmas dinner, etc. But it's become an NBA day, and then the NFL horned in on it yesterday with 2 games. I tried to watch a little bit of the first game, and it kept buffering, as they say. I know it was also sold to us that Mariah Carey's going to perform at the early game, and then Beyonce's going to do a halftime show at the late game. And the Mariah Carey thing was taped and lip-synced. So it was a pre-recorded, lip-synced high production. Good for you, Mariah. It's not a song anybody couldn't sing in their sleep. So that was a little bit of a letdown. But the commercials, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, somebody will fix me on this one. The commercials that aired on Netflix yesterday were crystal clear, but the game coverage is where I had the problem in the buffering of the pictures, and it looked like 2010 internet video to me. and somebody was telling me that my internet service provider was at fault. Well, it was through my cable company, which is digital cable too. So it's not like it's the low rent cable company. I was using digital fiber optic cable. I feel like Netflix may not have been prepared for the volume they got, which is a little bit of a shot to them. But maybe you saw something different. I don't know. I've been wrong on this stuff before. I don't get the need to have a Super Bowl-like competition for halftime shows on Christmas Day. And yeah, I heard LeBron James claim that the NBA owns Christmas Day. I'm not a big LeBron James fan, but I turned it off after just a little bit of watching the Beyonce show. Not a fan. But that's me. You might be very different. As I said, there are some big topics we have to get to. We are watching as much as we can everything that's coming out of the crash of this plane. There are other stories that we have to pay attention to, as we are 25 days away from having a brand new administration. Yes, it's very exciting. So many of you have said. There are some other concerns out there, and I'm wondering if you have any concerns over the bird flu, which California's claimed an emergency situation, bird flu. Louisiana has a 65-year-old man who's been hospitalized with bird flu. And then Washington State has an animal sanctuary where 20 of their big cats have passed away because of bird flu. And now they've had to, I guess, quarantine the other big cats. But that's a big number to lose 20 animals from bird flu. I'm hoping this isn't going to create anything beyond the concerns of the sanctuaries where the animals are. The 65-year-old gentleman in Louisiana reportedly hospitalized after touching a dead bird in his backyard, one of the stories. So if I found a dead bird, I'd just kind of leave it alone. Let nature take care of it. And I'm sure there'll be other predators who'll take care of it. The attack on Elon Musk, we talked about Elon Musk a little bit in Doge earlier. The attack on Elon Musk continues. And one of the weirdest attacks on Elon Musk came from the Mooch. Yes, Anthony Scaramucci has raised his head and is getting attention from CNN. The Mooch was on with Wolf Blitzer on Christmas Eve. And he's basically telling Elon Musk to stay out of government because you don't know what you're doing. It sounded a little bit, I don't want to say mafioso, but it sounded mob-like in its delivery. Listen to this back and forth about a guy who served, 9 days? He was 9 days in the Trump administration before Donald Trump threw him out. And now he's the expert that CNN is going to.
Well, listen, he's got a very powerful role. He's got a $44 billion megaphone. He's got over 200 plus million followers. And Wolf, he was instrumental in that election. The stuff that Elon Musk did in Pennsylvania alone, I think, helped the president win that election. So he has a very big voice, I think.
Yes, he does. You're correct on all that. And it sounds like there may be a little bit of envy there, Mooch. There may be a little bit of envy. He's got a $44 billion megaphone. That's what he paid for Twitter. It was his money. He can spend it. He has a successful aerospace company, a car company that some people would say is very successful. But are you jealous because he has this outsized influence that you may have had the opportunity to have but lost after 9 days? I'm wondering.
The problem for Elon Musk, though, he's got a little bit of Potomac fever. And so you think you're going to go to Washington and change Washington. That's Potomac fever. And
I didn't realize that the CDC had recognized Potomac fever. Is that what you get when the mosquitoes that come out of the swamp in D.C. bite you? Potomac fever? Maybe this is a new disease. Maybe we should stop worrying about bird flu and worry about Potomac fever, which may have infected most of Congress.
The weird thing about Potomac fever is one of the symptoms is you don't know you have Potomac fever. And of course, I have had Potomac fever, Wolf, so I'm speaking as a former patient that's been afflicted with the disease.
Does Potomac fever lead to Trump derangement syndrome? I wonder, can we accurately say that the mooch suffers from Potomac fever or was a sufferer of Potomac fever, and now it has morphed into Trump derangement syndrome? Kind of feels that way to me.
He's just got to be very, very careful because he's making enemies that he doesn't realize, and the incentives in Washington are totally different than those in business. And so everybody's incentivized in a different and sometimes irrational way. And I think the power that he's wielding right now, Washington has a great immunological system, and I think they'll find a way to rebut him. So I would say to Elon Musk, not he would listen to me, but stick to business. You've done great. You've made a couple $100 billion since the election. Lay off the gas on politics a little bit because these people could hurt you. And
wait a minute. What did he just say? I mean, if we put this in the mouth or the accent of a cartoonish mobster, lay off the gas on the politics a little bit because these people could hurt you. I don't want to see you get hurt. There's no need for you to. It would be a shame, Elon, if you was to get hurt because, you know, you're such a good guy. Nobody wants to see you get hurt. And seriously, listen to what he's saying. He's basically talking like a mobster.
Lay off the gas on politics a little bit because these people could hurt you, and it's no need for you to get hurt. You're doing so well in your life.
No need for you to get hurt. You're doing so well in your life. It would be a shame if you know what I'm saying. Nobody's called this guy out for this? There's been almost no reaction to it. Is it because it happened the day before Christmas? Is that why? Did they think nobody was watching? Well, it's CNN, so, you know, nobody is watching. That's the reality. But for the mooch to tell Elon Musk, lay off the politics, you know, you don't want to get the Potomac fever and suddenly end up dead or something because you're a nice guy. Man, oh man, that certainly needs to be pointed out. The guy was in office for 9 days. 9 days. And he has turned it into 7+ years of attention from the left side of the mainstream media. I guess the longer you say bad things about Donald Trump, the longer you will be held up by the left side of the mainstream media. Yeah, it's real stuff. I have more on Mr. Musk and the left side of the media's attack on Elon Musk. Plus, there seems to be even more craziness coming out of the mainstream media as it relates to Donald Trump and Liz Cheney. And I was looking back over the year. I want to play some of the comments the mainstream media said about what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney and what he actually said. There's a vast difference. You're welcome to join us. 888-630-9625. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plante on The Chris Plante Show.
I love the NFL. But Christmas is our day.
You're listening to The Chris Plante Show.
It is the Chris Plante Show, December 26th. Mike Opelka, that's me, in for Chris Plante. And we'll get to Liz Cheney. I want to talk about Liz Cheney and what the media said about Donald Trump and what Donald Trump actually said about Liz Cheney, because there seems to be a disconnect. And I want to share those thoughts with you, especially with Will, who's calling from Skokie, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Hello, Will. Welcome to the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, how you doing? Right by your old stomping grounds up here on the North Shore.
Well,
anyway,
you are. Can I ask, is if you're in Skokie, is Kaufman's there still on like Dempster near Skokie Boulevard?
Yep, Kaufman's is still there, but they got some other great kosher places up here too. Kaufman's isn't kosher; it's just Jewish. Anyway,
all right.
The thing, and I'm Jewish too, so anyway, the thing that strikes me, and talking with my brother, who's a hopeless Democrat, the thing that people will react to what the media said Trump said, as opposed to what Trump actually said. I mean, you had the whole thing about the very fine people down in Charlottesville and stuff.
Yeah.
It's what the media said versus what Trump actually said. And this is, I think, one of the things that's really going to be good is that the mainstream media, and, it used to be just the three major networks and stuff, they have lost their power. Most people are getting their news now from different sources, from Fox to a certain extent, but from podcasts and social media. Now, the problem that we're going to have, though, is that you're going to be too much in an echo chamber, and so we have to be able to communicate across those lines to get to what actually was said as opposed to what people said was said. And that's the important thing.
We had a little bit of this discussion on Christmas Eve, Will, when we were talking about that same effect. If you're going to one source and you're getting your information and there's no real good fact checking, and I will tell you, as much as Elon Musk has touted it, it seems to be true. The fact checking on Truth, not on Truth, but on X seems to be pretty good. The community reports seem to be pretty solid. I don't see that anywhere else, and I think that is what's missing.
And I think that's going to be his greatest asset. I mean, the guy's a weird nerd, but hey, I'm a weird nerd too, so I kind of enjoy it. And
welcome to the club.
Right, and the thing too is being conservative. Things people have to realize: conservatives and liberals agree on 85% of the things. It's that liberals and the left are totally different, but everybody sees liberals as the left. And you have people in the news and people on various things that they confuse and confuse the word liberal with progressive leftist, and that's I think where we've got to maybe work on that.
The classic liberals were small government people, and they're more in line with a lot of conservatism.
Sure.
But the meanings got twisted, Will. But you're right on. Yep. You're spot on there. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being there. Happy Hanukkah. It is Mike Opelka. I will get to this breakdown on the difference between what Donald Trump said and what the media said Donald Trump said, and what did Liz Cheney actually do. It's Opelka for Chris Plante on the Chris Plante Show.
You're listening to the Chris Plante Show.
It is the Chris Plante Show on December 26th, day 2 of Hanukkah, Boxing Day, day after Christmas. Hope you and yours got together with friends and family and had the holiday of your dreams, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you saw. Yeah, I guess Kwanzaa doesn't start tomorrow, and I've never really understood it. Not even close to understanding it. It's Mike Opelka. That's me. It is the Chris Plante Show, 888-630-9625. One of the things that I do at the end of the years is look back on all of the madness through the year. And trust me, there was a truckload of madness and stupid this year, especially out of the mainstream media. And their inability to be journalists was highlighted so often that it's almost impossible to pick out the one or two moments to point out and say, see, this is where they really got it wrong. There are many, and we'll go over them between now and the end of the year as I'm here for Chris Plante through next Friday, God willing. But one of them that really stuck out was how the mainstream media tried to turn Donald Trump's comments about Liz Cheney into something it was not. And I think we're all pretty solid on Liz Cheney's Trump derangement syndrome being one of the worst cases we've seen. That she was so obsessed with Donald Trump and taking him down that she took down her own career. Exemplifying the adage, when you come for the king, you better dig two graves. But in this case, Mr. Trump was better suited for the battle than she was. And Liz Cheney handily voted out. And her replacement, Harriet Hageman, seems to be doing really well. But Mr. Trump made some comments about Liz Cheney and talking about her as a war hawk. And as we all know, Donald Trump wants the end of wars. He wants the end of the senseless killing, the end of the waste of money that could be better funneled into the care of our veterans, into the schools that need so much attention, into the infrastructure in the country, the roads and the bridges. That has to be addressed sooner rather than later. So when Donald Trump talked about Liz Cheney being a war hawk and that maybe these war hawks would be better suited to realize what battle was all about, the left lost it. But before we play you what the left was talking about, we should give you an example of what Donald Trump actually said. And this is what triggered the media.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Now, that's a pretty powerful statement, but let's understand that's what happens in the face of in battle. When you're a soldier out in the field, you've got your rifle, and maybe you're suddenly realizing you're outnumbered, outgunned, as it were. And you're going to have to deal with that reality. If Liz Cheney had any kind of understanding of what it's like to be a frontline soldier facing that kind of problem, maybe she would have understood, and maybe she'd back off some of her war hawkishness. But what Donald Trump said there, let's go back and play that again. It's just 12 seconds. You won't believe what it triggered.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
So that statement caused the mainstream media to go apoplectic and label Trump as a violent man who wanted Liz Cheney assassinated in a firing squad. Never said any of that. You heard his actual words. This is a little bit of what was triggered by that statement. Yes, I intentionally used the word triggered.
Breaking news. Donald Trump took his violent rhetoric to a new extreme, suggesting the former Republican Congresswoman should be fired upon.
Breaking news. Trump under investigation for saying, quote, war hawk Liz Cheney should be fired upon.
Right now on ABC News Live, he suggested 9 barrels of a firing squad aimed right at her.
Donald Trump. No, there was no mention of a firing squad. It was mentioning that she would be in battle and understand from the perspective of a soldier. You're probably thinking, oh, Mike, it's just those 3 comments. Those 3, there were isolated comments made about Liz Cheney. Oh, no, there's more.
Donald Trump declaring before a crowd that Cheney should be put before a firing line.
With the battle over women voters raging, Donald Trump suggests putting Liz Cheney in the firing line.
Now you have this threat against Liz Cheney that Trump is talking about a firing squad.
The Drudge Report, Trump calls for Cheney execution.
He's saying
no, and Scarborough is guilty of spreading so much Bravo Sierra, he needs to open a fertilizer factory. He could have a business. Remember, Joe Scarborough, the same guy who also said this about Joe Biden.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He has permanently surrendered his journalism card. And you know, that statement and the statement about Liz Cheney are also part and parcel of the reason that Joe and Mika hightailed it over to Mar-a-Lago to bow and scrape before Donald Trump to try to say, no, please don't hate us. But this one incident of Donald Trump standing up, he was actually sitting down when he said it in this conversation, and saying 11, it's not even 12 seconds, it's 11 seconds about Liz Cheney.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
Not a firing squad, just an example of war. But I'm 44 seconds into a montage. I believe this is from our friend Tom Elliott at Graben that do incredible work on all these montages. I'm 44 seconds into a nearly 4-minute montage of how the mainstream media went off on that Trump comment, trying to utilize it to isolate female voters as well. You heard it in some of the clips. It did not end where we just stopped it.
Quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
No, not quite implicitly. Not quite implicitly at all. The words firing squad were never mentioned. Not even close. This is why the mainstream media has lost its grip on journalism and on the ability to claim the mantle of truth tellers. They will do whatever it takes to destroy the opposition. And they don't care about the truth. That is the real shame here, is these are people who were very comfortably ensconced in roles of power in our country and paid millions and millions of dollars. And I think they got drunk with that power. I know Chris has talked about it in the past, the offer for Rachel Maddow to return, but at a reduced salary. I think she had to take a $5 million haircut. Joy Reid, the racist, angry woman, also required to take a hefty pay cut. And one never understands why Al Sharpton is still working anywhere in the media. But there it is. But now here's the reality for Liz Cheney, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a reckoning for Liz Cheney. Donald Trump talked about Cheney being a war hawk, and he's no fan of her. She personally attacked him and went after him. But when the Trump administration is in place and Pam Bondi is the attorney general, which I think is a slam dunk, that appointment should happen without any question. And hopefully Kash Patel will clear his confirmation hearings. I don't see any reason why not. Everything I've known about Kash over the years of interacting with him is just rock solid, constitutional, love America stuff. If Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are allowed to do their jobs, I think Liz Cheney has trouble. And not just because she was angry at Donald Trump, but what she did with the January 6th committee and the obvious slant that the committee had. And one of those things has to do with witness tampering. Bill O'Reilly was on with Cuomo on his News Nation show 2 nights ago talking about that problem.
Liz Cheney is the biggest villain in Republican circles there could possibly be.
Why? Because she's a traitor?
When the House of Representatives said no, because she was so hateful to Trump, and the voters of Wyoming booted her out, even though the Cheney family is one of the most powerful families in that state. But when the Republicans in Congress say she witness tampered, and then the press makes it out like this is some kind of revenge play, if Liz Cheney witness tampered, she deserves the FBI being all over her front lawn.
More than her front lawn, she should get the FBI treatment that was foisted upon Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. She should get the same kind of search that Mr. Trump experienced. We will see. We will see what happens. But I do believe that this is one of the reasons why the left is freaking out, is that the Avenger that they got, the Joan of Arc that they got out of the Republican Party to come in and go after Trump, that she's going to go down. As a matter of fact, there is a new poll out today from Rasmussen that says 57% favor an FBI probe of Liz Cheney. 57%. Only 40%, and this is a brand new survey just released today. Brand new survey finds that 40% of likely voters have a favorable opinion of Liz Cheney. 42% view her unfavorably. 17%, well, they really don't know. Probably not paying attention too much to Wyoming politics. But 57% of all of them say, well, yes, we need to have an FBI probe into Liz Cheney. And I bet that's going to happen. Now, the mainstream media is going to tell you, oh, this is the weaponization of the FBI that Donald Trump will bring. He will make it his FBI. You mean the weaponization of the FBI, kind of like the same way the weaponization against Donald Trump happened under Joe Biden for the last 4 years? Is that what you're talking about? Okay, I got it. I understand. Elections have consequences, and they're about to have some serious consequences for people like Liz Cheney. And while we're at it, keep the other chairman of the January 6th committee in mind, Benny Johnson. If this poll indicates anything, I would put good money down that you will anticipate a preemptive pardon for Cheney and Johnson and people like Adam Shifty Schiff, who will be exonerated before they can even be indicted. That Joe Biden will pile on the pardons, as it were. I think he's going for a new North American record. I think Biden is attempting to create the most pardons ever for a president, even though if you asked him, he probably doesn't know it for sure. He's probably clueless to the number of pardons. All right, I'm going to step aside, take a break. If you want to share a final thought on today's program, you're welcome. 888-630-9625. It seems like everyone's in favor of expediting the transition of power. I suggested January 1st be the new inauguration date. Someone said, why not the day after the election? That's a good suggestion. But we'll take any and all callers at 888-630-9625. Opelka in for Plante on The Chris Plante Show.
You're listening to The Chris Plante Show.
Show, Mike Opelka, that is me, sitting in for Chris Plante. Just checking a little social media during the break here. Some interesting comments of people asking me, hey, are we going to be doing any woke Olympics before the end of the year? We're going to be giving out any gold medals for the woke Olympics. We're going to be focusing on some of the dumbest things that happened in the political world, most of that out of the Democratic side of the aisle. But yes, of course, there are some new woke Olympic awards to be given out. Achievement for the entire year as well as for recent. The University of Indiana just got caught teaching all of its students that they are oppressors, especially the white kids are oppressors. But if you're good enough to get into a university, you're an oppressor. And you're probably not worthy of the cow that died to make your belt, you running dog jackal. But we'll do some woke Olympics tomorrow. Someone also reminded us via the social media, keep in mind that when Joe Biden dropped out of the primary election, the Democratic thing to do was to give his votes and all of the money to the candidate who received the next highest votes, which would have been RFK Jr. Interesting. But I think RFK had already bailed out of the Democratic Party at that time. A couple more things to get to, but Mark is joining us from Arkansas. I don't want to ever leave the show, if I can, with one of you hanging on hold. Mark, welcome to the Chris Plante Show.
Yes, just wanted to comment on Liz Cheney's fantastic influence in the election. Yeah. You know that Wyoming voted 75% for Donald J. Trump.
Wow.
That's the highest percentage of all the 50 states came from Wyoming. How's that?
So Liz Cheney gets a girl pat on the back.
She won the state for us. Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Not just won the state. That if this were a flag football game at the YMCA, they would have called it already. They would have told you you've scored too much. You can't be on offense.
Might as well throw Kissinger in there also. He was another great Republican that was bound determined to get Trump nailed on that deal. Yeah,
Adam Kinzinger.
I'm sure there's a lot on him. Yeah,
yeah, he's someone. Another political career killed by a self-inflicted wound. That's another one.
Long.
Excellent, Mark. Excellent analysis. Well done.
Take care. God bless you, and Merry Christmas to all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, sir. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy Boxing Day. Happy Hanukkah. We are going to go into tomorrow. It'll be another day of looking back, unless there are some big moments happening overnight. We'll keep our eyes on everything coming out of Russia. The Russia attack on the Ukrainian power grid has people concerned that Russia might be going after the nuclear plant in Ukraine. I think that's probably a bad idea. I would be concerned about this airliner that was reportedly downed by Russian military power. So we'll find out about the Azerbaijani airline. But we're going to have some fun with the gaffes of Joe Biden. For example, stuff like this will be honored. And I'm using air quotes with my fingers when I say honored.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start.
So in that one clip, Joe Biden misidentified Donald Trump as the vice president and then misgendered Donald Trump. Just in one itty-bitty clip. And that's just one moment out of the past 12 months. We have a tsunami of stupid to share with you tomorrow, and I hope you will be here and join in the party with your favorites as well. Thank you for being here today. It is Boxing Day, second day of Hanukkah. And until next time, for the Chris Plante Show, it's Mike Opelka reminding you, testudo, my friends, testudo.